Welcome to another episode of Doing Iffy Business's podcast talk show, where we discuss and critique business behaviors and practices that you, our listeners, have asked us about. Brought to you by WeTeach.Stream.
Hello, and welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into a topic that feels like it's quickly shifting from an experimental perk to maybe a potential new standard, the four-day work week. For a while, it seemed sort of exclusive to big tech, maybe. But now it's really gaining momentum, especially for small and medium-sized enterprises.
That's right.
We've gathered a wealth of articles, in-depth research, expert opinions, looking at the benefits, the pitfalls, how you actually implement it.
Yeah, the practical side.
Exactly. So our mission today is to, cut through the noise and give you, our listener, a clear, concise overview. Help you decide if this evolving trend is, right for your business. Okay, let's unpack this.
And it's really vital to understand right off the bat that the four-day work week isn't like a single thing. It's not one size fits all.
Right. I mean, our whole idea of the work week has evolved so dramatically, hasn't it? We went from, 7-day labor being common.
Yeah, hard to imagine now.
To Henry Ford's groundbreaking 5-day week back in the early 20th century. And now we're potentially seeing another big shift.
So what are the main flavors then?
Well, essentially, there are two primary models you hear about most. You've got the compressed work week. That's where employees still put in the same hours, maybe 40 hours, but they squash them into 4 longer days.
Like 4 10-hour days, something like that.
Exactly. 4 10s is common. Then there's the reduced hours model, and this is where the total work hours are genuinely cut, often down to around 32 hours, spread over 4 days.
But crucially with the same pay, usually.
Usually. Yeah, that's the big draw. And we're also seeing these kind of hybrid models popping up, maybe missing it with remote work. But the core idea here isn't just about getting more time off. It's more fundamental. It's about rethinking efficiency, output, and how we really engage with work.
That deeper look at efficiency, that feels key. It really explains why so many businesses, especially those agile SMEs we mentioned, are so intrigued. So if the goal is a more productive, more engaged workforce, where does this conversation usually kick off? Is it output first or something else?
It almost always starts with the people, specifically employee well-being.
Makes sense.
Think about it, an extra day, a whole day to actually recharge, maybe spend time with family, pursue a hobby, or just, deal with all that life admin that piles up.
Yeah, the never-ending list.
Right, that extra breathing room, it's a massive stress reducer, a really powerful way to prevent burnout. There was that big study, Nature Human Behavior, one of the largest trials, found participants were happier, less burned out, and their mental and physical health actually improved.
Wow.
And think about that trial in Spain. 71% of people specifically said they felt less burned out. For SMEs, where teams are often smaller, more close-knit, that kind of direct impact on morale, on stress levels, that can create a really strong, positive culture.
Yeah, and it's those personal stories that really bring it home, too, isn't it? Like Richard Godwin, I read he adopted a 4-day week for childcare reasons, and he talked about how that extra time with his son created lasting value.
You can't put a price on that.
Exactly. It makes employees feel genuinely valued. But here's where it gets really interesting. How does that improved well-being then flow into productivity? Because fewer days, more output. It sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it?
It really does. But there's this concept often called Parkinson's concept.
Ah, yes. Work expands to fill the time available.
Precisely. So when you deliberately shorten the week, it kind of forces a tighter focus. People become more disciplined, more efficient with the time they do have. The real insight here for, say, an SME isn't just let's work fewer hours. It's about fostering a culture of intense focus, strategic time use, where every minute counts, pushing for higher quality output.
And we've seen some pretty incredible examples, haven't we? Microsoft Japan, for instance, they famously reported that 40% boost in productivity during their trial.
A huge number.
And not just that, they also cut electricity costs, printing costs. Those are tangible wins for any business.
Absolutely.
And today, digital, they observe teams coming back from the long weekends feeling more creative, energetic, and recharged. Even Pipedrive, their sales folks on a 4-day week, were 8% more likely to hit quotas.
Right.
Now, for an SME, hearing about a 40% jump might seem, ambitious maybe, but that core idea-focused, optimized work that feels even more critical when you've got leaner teams and every hour, every pound or dollar really counts. What's fascinating is
that it really underscores it's not about working less necessarily, but working smarter. And for SMEs, these benefits, they become incredibly compelling,
Mm.
particularly when you think about talent.
Ah, the war for talent. Always a challenge for smaller firms.
Exactly, attracting and keeping top people.
Yeah.
It's tough when you're up against big corporations with deeper pockets for salaries. A 4-day work week,
Mhm.
that can be a massive competitive
A
advantage.
real differentiator.
Definitely. We're seeing data like 44% of on-site employees would actually switch jobs for this, and 62% of workers see it as a top perk.
Wow, 62%.
Yeah. Think about Adam Bank in the UK. They did it specifically to attract and retain talent in financial services, a very competitive field. Or that UK council that saw better recruitment after making its 4-day setup permanent.
So it's not just attracting them, it's keeping them too. Less turnover.
Precisely. Reduced turnover saves you huge amounts on recruitment, on training. That's a major win for any SME's bottom line. Plus, like you touched on, there can be those broader benefits, maybe reduced operational costs if the office closes an extra day, even environmental pluses with less commuting.
Okay, those benefits sound really compelling. The competitive edge is clear. But we need the reality check, too. It can't be a magic bullet for everyone, surely.
No, absolutely not.
If we're giving a balanced picture, we have to explore where it might fall short or, create new problems. So what are the common challenges businesses run into, especially smaller ones, without massive resources to just experiment?
Well, one of the biggest risks, ironically, is the potential for more workload stress and potentially more burnout.
More. How does that work?
Well, if you just try to cram 5 days worth of tasks into 4 days without changing anything else, employees might end up working longer, much more intense hours on those 4 days.
Right, so it defeats the whole purpose.
Completely.
Yeah.
It can lead to even greater stress. There was that example of AllCap, an engineering supplies company. After a 6-month trial, their employees were just exhausted. They spent their extra day off recovering, not enjoying it.
Ouch.
Yeah. And Richard Godwin, the writer you mentioned earlier, he also found himself more stressed sometimes, even working on his supposed day off just to keep up. It really highlights that just changing the number of days isn't enough if you don't fundamentally rethink the work itself.
That's crucial.
And look at Gallup's 2022 data. It actually showed employees on 4-day weeks reported higher burnout rates than 5-day weekers, especially if they didn't have flexible remote options alongside it. It really hammers home that how you implement it matters way more than just the basic concept.
That's a critical warning for SMEs. You don't want to invest time and effort into a change that actually makes things worse or needs constant firefighting from managers. And what about customer service? For businesses dealing directly with clients or customers, keeping things running smoothly must be a huge headache, right?
Oh, absolutely. For customer-facing SMEs, maintaining service standards is a really significant hurdle. Think about healthcare, retail, maybe a local repair service,
Yeah.
businesses that need constant coverage.
Yeah, people expect them to be available.
Exactly. One study found 75% of companies not on a 4-day week were worried about being less available. And Citizens Advice in Gateshead, they ran a trial.
What happened there?
Well, they found demand was so high on Mondays and Fridays that staff just couldn't realistically take those days off. It forced them to actually hire 3 extra full-time people just to keep service levels up.
Which kind of wipes out the cost savings, I imagine.
Right. It can negate the efficiency gains.
Mm-hmm.
And the hidden cost for an SME isn't just the potential burnout. It's that drain on management time, constantly trying to rebalance teams, juggle schedules, make sure clients aren't left hanging.
It sounds like this model might create a bit of an uneven playing field then. Like, it works great for some sectors, maybe not so much for others. Are we seeing that kind of inequality emerge?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, yeah, there's definitely a sense that it's much more suited, generally speaking, to white-collar, knowledge-based jobs.
Office jobs, basically.
Pretty much. For many blue-collar roles, manufacturing, lots of service industry jobs, it's often way less practical without huge operational changes. And, the author Hillary Cottam, she calls it a male solution.
Interesting.
Well, her argument is compelling. She says parents, especially those with school-age kids, often prefer shorter hours spread over 5 days, keeping the same pay, rather than those long, compressed hours over 4 days.
Because the long days clash with school runs and things.
Exactly. School pickups, after-school care, nursery hours. The compressed model can make life harder for primary caregivers, not easier.
That's a really important perspective. And what about the research itself? You mentioned some studies. Are there any doubts about how solid the data is?
That's another fair point. There are some methodological concerns. Isaac Cohen from Terramind made a great observation. Feeling more productive and being more productive aren't always the same thing.
The self-reporting bias?
Precisely. A lot of studies rely heavily on self-reported data, which is valuable, don't get me wrong, but it can sometimes paint maybe an overly rosy picture. For SMBs especially, making big, costly decisions. You really want to look for objective metrics too.
Like,
Things like actual task completion rates, workflow efficiency data, project turnaround times. Hard numbers, basically. You need that objective view to avoid making big changes based on, well, potentially incomplete or subjective feelings.
okay, so definitely not a simple flick the switch solution then, but let's pivot to making it work. For SMEs who are seriously considering this, what are the practical steps? You mentioned earlier small businesses are usually able to handle change easier.
Right, that flexibility is key.
They can adapt quickly. So what does this all mean for you, the SME owner listening? How do you leverage that agility?
Well, the first strategy, I think, is to fundamentally shift your mindset. Josh Bersin, a well-known analyst, he doesn't see the 4-day week just as a perk. He calls it a work improvement process.
Okay, unpack that a bit.
It means the focus is on rigorously cutting out wasted time, clarifying who's responsible for what, and just ditching work that doesn't actually add real value. It's about prioritizing outcomes, not just hours clocked.
And empowering employees through something called job crafting. That's essentially letting them help redesign their roles to better match their strengths and passions, which naturally boosts engagement and effectiveness.
Exactly. And building right on top of that, optimizing your workflows and really mastering time management becomes absolutely critical.
So practical tools for that.
Definitely. For prioritization, you could use frameworks like the Moscow method, must, should, could, won't,
Right, helps you focus.
or the Eisenhower matrix, sorting tasks by urgent important. These help your teams laser focus on what truly matters, which is vital when you have less time.
And meetings, the bane of many workplaces.
Oh, meetings, yeah, you've got to be ruthless. Josh Bersin advises drastically cutting unnecessary ones. Use strict agendas, firm time limits, maybe record meetings like we do.
So people can catch up later if needed.
Exactly. If someone only needs the key decisions, they watch the replay, they don't have to sit through the whole thing, disrupting their focused work. And finally, setting really clear objectives using something like OKRs.
Objectives and key results.
Yep. That goal-setting framework helps align everyone's efforts, keeps the focus on those key outcomes, super valuable in a compressed week.
Those process changes sound powerful, but it's hard to imagine making that kind of shift efficiently without leaning on technology. How does tech fit into making this work for SMEs?
Technology is really the secret weapon here, especially for smaller businesses. Automation, AI, cloud tools. They're not just for the big players anymore. They're accessible, transformative.
Give me some examples.
Okay, think about using a CRM, like HubSpot, to automate repetitive sales tasks or customer service follow-ups. You could use AI for, say, brainstorming content ideas, summarizing long reports, saving huge amounts of time.
Little time savers add up.
They really do. Even straightforward time tracking software, maybe like Work Status, can help monitor productivity, keep projects on track without feeling like Big Brother is watching. It gives you valuable insights.
And collaboration tools.
Essential. Things like Microsoft Teams, Google Workspace, Monday.com. They're crucial for smooth communication, project management, especially if team members are working different days or maybe even different time zones. These tools really empower smaller teams to punch above their weight.
That tech enablement sounds key. But even with the best tools, the best processes, we're still talking about people here. How do businesses make sure employee well-being is genuinely protected? And how do they actually manage the shift without creating chaos?
That's right. The human element is paramount. It's about fostering a culture where clear boundaries around working hours aren't just, talked about, but they're actively respected by everyone, including management.
Stop that always-on creep.
Exactly. That prevents the mindset that can just wipe out all the benefits. Companies should also think about a gradual transition. Maybe phase it in over several weeks, even months. Give people time to adjust, figure out new routines without feeling totally overwhelmed.
Makes sense. Less disruption.
And, maybe most importantly, actively encourage employees to use that extra day well for personal development, fitness, hobbies, family, or just proper deep rest. You mentioned today digital.
Yeah, they said their teams came back recharged.
Right, because people were using the time for the gym, passion projects, family. They genuinely came back more creative. So it's not just about cutting workdays. It's about actively reducing burnout, boosting mental health, and improving overall life satisfaction.
This has been a really fantastic deep dive. It's so clear that while the 4-day want is definitely gaining steam, especially in, say, white-collar jobs, tech, It's also part of this much bigger conversation we're all having about the future of work, isn't it? How we define productivity, well-being.
Absolutely. And this raises an important question, maybe a final thought for everyone listening, especially if you're an SME leader thinking about this.
Mm.
Gallup's research, it found something really profound. The quality of the actual work experience, feeling empowered, using your strengths, that has something like a 2.5 to 3 times greater impact on your overall well-being than just cutting the number of days or hours you work.
Oh, that much more.
Yeah. It suggests the real problem we might be trying to fix isn't always the calendar. Maybe it's just poor management or lack of engagement.
So the provocative thought is,
As you consider the 4-day work week for your business, ask yourself this. Are you just looking to shorten the week? Or are you ready to fundamentally redesign the quality of work itself to empower your people so they can truly thrive? Regardless of how many days are on the calendar, that's something worth chewing on.
well, we hope you enjoyed another one of our episodes. And don't forget to like, share, and especially subscribe to our channel for early hidden episodes. And of course, if you want to learn more or get a qualification on some of the subjects we've covered today, then head over to We Teach Streaming Institute at www.weteach.stream to enroll in an easy-to-follow course that's just right for you. We've also added a Share Your Opinion link in the description so you can earn free shopping points for leaving a video review. Yeah, we love video reviews. See you next time.